The Honourable Member for Flamborough, Glenbrook.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is sometimes a mouthful with the number of R's in there. It's always an honour to rise in this House, and today to speak on behalf, of course, the hardworking people of Flamborough, Glenbrook that I serve, and this time about Bill C-47, the Budget Implementation Act. Madam Speaker, I'd like to focus on three areas in my speech today. One, the out-of-control inflationary spending and deficits that are driving up the cost of living and interest rates for people in my riding and across Canada. Two, the tax increases that are being piled on top of it at a time when Canadians can least afford it. And three, the desperate need in this country to bring homes people can afford. So first, the $46 billion bonanza of new spending in the budget, and that's on top of the billions in wasteful spending that we've seen in the last few years from this government. And certainly it makes for great photo ops for government ministers and MPs, but all this spending is adding inflationary fuel to the already raging affordability fire. So gone are the fiscal anchors, gone are the fiscal guardrails. Madam Speaker, what does this mean for people in my riding and across Canada? Let me paint a picture for you of what's happening at kitchen tables in suburban communities like Waterdown, Bimbrook, and Mount Hope in my constituency. And that's just for context, 5 or 6 hour drive from this place, both literally and figuratively removed from the Ottawa bubble that the out-attached Liberals live here in. And Madam Speaker, I know this from the hundreds of conversations I had with constituents in the past few months, particularly the last couple of constituency weeks when I did a number of meetings across the riding. And these are typically young families, often new Canadians, who've moved to these fast-growing suburbs of the Hamilton area at the western end of the GTA over the last 5 to 7 years in particular in search of a home to raise their children. And where a detached family home is attainable for these couples, often with two incomes in these communities, certainly the prices in Toronto or Mississauga, where they've come from, are far more out of reach, and so they've come here and searched for more affordable living. But Madam Speaker, they feel fortunate because they at least got into the market before the prices skyrocketed. And there are others in their peer group with good jobs that they speak to that can't even contemplate saving enough up for a down payment, particularly when that has doubled since the Liberals have taken office, nor have the means to qualify for the $1 million plus mortgage that be required given the average cost of housing in the area. But these families and individuals are really worried right now because a lot of them are coming up to the point where their 5-year mortgages are coming up for renewal. And interest rates, of course, have gone up. And some of those have seen their renewals cause their mortgages to double or be hundreds of dollars, maybe even $1,000 more to their monthly budget. And that's a real punch to the gut. And this comes at a time when they're also dealing with credit card bills that are mounting, because far too often there's more month left at the end of the money. They've also just gotten the natural gas home heating bills as well, and there was an article in the local weekly paper about this recently, and they've noticed a significant increase, not just in the cost of natural gas, but in the line items, the carbon tax, and then the tax on top of the carbon tax, the HST, on their bill. So that has been another hit to their budgets. They're also commuting often to work, and that filling up of their tank is now taking a bigger bite of their household budget. So of course they're feeling squeezed. We know that groceries are up almost $1,100 for the average household in Canada. Often that's more. And the carbon tax has been added and increased for home heating, groceries, and of course driving their vehicles. So all of that is expensive. There's no savings for them to dip into. So Madam Speaker, this is the reality at the kitchen tables across the GTHA and across the country. There is worry, there is concern, and we've also heard recent polling that 6 in 10 are looking at canceling their summer vacation plans because of this. And so that's why this Liberal budget is so disappointing, because it really makes matters worse. There's more inflationary spending, more deficits, more money wasted, billions of dollars in contracts to high-priced consultants, and certainly the Auditor General found billions in COVID supports that were sent to people, including prisoners and dead people. All of this inflation is more dollars chasing fewer goods. All of this inflation is driving up interest rates, which really is the cruelest tax of all. And the budget makes matters worse by not getting this inflationary and wasteful spending under control. So when we're on track, as we are now, to spend more on interest in the national debt than in transfers, or almost as much, than in transfers to the provinces for health care, we know something is very wrong. And as my honourable colleague, the member for South Shore, St. Margaret's, pointed out in his speech on this bill last Friday, every Prime Minister since former Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, who was responsible for the original debt and deficit binge of the 1970s and 80s, has run operating surpluses. That's Mulroney, Chrétien, Martin, and Harper. But we're back now to operating deficits again. And Canadians are paying the price with 40-year high inflation and now 8 interest rate hikes over the past year. And Madam Speaker, no wonder young families, seniors on a fixed income, and new Canadians trying to make a fresh start in our blessed country are sitting worried at their kitchen tables. But Madam Speaker, if inflation and interest rate hikes weren't enough to handle in this cost of living crisis, taxes are also up in this budget, which is incredible. During the worst cost of living crisis that Canadians have seen in a generation, Madam Speaker, we know that the carbon tax was up on April 1st, and that's increasing the cost of 3 essentials: home heating, gas for your vehicle, groceries. It's also increasing an unmanageable tax burden on our farmers, the ones who produce our food. Fortunately, members on this side of the House supported Bill C-234 from my honourable colleague, the member for Huron-Bruce, to remove the carbon tax from farm fuels, the heating and cooling of barns and farm production. We hope the Senate passes that quickly because farmers feed our cities. Canada feeds the world, and especially important now in the time of Putin's illegal war against Ukraine, that Canada is there to feed the world. So we should be encouraging this world-class and world-leading agriculture in our country and the agri-food industry in every way possible, not taxing it to death. And Madam Speaker, the excise tax also went up on April 1st, despite a motion of this side of the House to pause that increase this year. And Canada already had amongst the highest excise taxes in the world on wine, beer, and spirits. We certainly have some outstanding wineries. There's one in my riding. There's many just down the road in Niagara, some cideries, some craft breweries. And they're being punished by this escalator tax. And in fact, this is helping hamper their, this is hampering their competitiveness. So that's a shame. So I'm running out of time, so I want to just touch very briefly on the third area where I think the budget is failing, and that's in bringing homes people can afford. For new Canadians, young people, the dream of working hard, of staying focused on your goals and achieving that home ownership is fading. It's really sad to me that 9 out of 10 people who don't have a home today have given up on that dream of home ownership. And certainly we've seen under this government, down payments have doubled, mortgage payments have doubled. So how is it possible to get into the market? And for me, as the grandson of Dutch immigrants who came to Canada from war-torn Europe after World War II with nothing and built a better life for their families by doing exactly that, working hard. They built a modest middle-class upbringing through hard work and sacrifice. But after 8 years of this Liberal government, that dream of Canada, that Canada is the land of hope and opportunity is no more. And we know that the CMHC has said that Canada needs to build 3.5 million more homes just to reach the projected number to restore affordability. So let me wrap it up, Madam Speaker. We've got a time where the cost of living crisis is ravaging so many Canadian households. They need better than what's in this Budget Implementation Act. Families are struggling. 1.5 million or more are going to food banks. They need better. Our economy needs better. Conservatives stand ready to deliver and unleash Canada's great potential for everyone. Thank you very much.